What's happening, Blades? Now that's a bit of a concern because normally I can hear that when it's playing. So not sure whether you heard the sound to that. Not sure now whether you can hear me or not. So let me know how it's going. I'm just going to put our Ramblers details along the bottom there. What is happening, everybody? Let me know. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat just to make sure you can see me. If not, I'll or hear me even. Spot on. Thank you, Kane, old pal. Kane, let me know you can hear me all right. So, disclosure, when I first started doing these lives, I know we've had a little bit of trial and error with them, shall you say. But I just went, turn it on, let's go. And to be honest, a lot of my recorded videos were like that. I didn't have any notes, didn't do anything. I know I look down and around and stuff. And sometimes people are like, oh, well, you read. I'm not. There's nothing there normally. But I've come prepared this time. There are full notes because there's loads to talk about. So, right, let's get started. I'm going to say hello to everybody first. Let's have a look. Stu's saying preferably good news. We'll see. We'll get to some. Just stop. Ollie Mac. Kane repping the new merch for the Ramble. Spot on that. We'll come to that. What clauses need to be included so Illy re-signs? We'll get to that too. Don't worry. Stu, let me know I'm loud and clear. Thank you. Still worried about goalkeeping his kipper. Me too. Me too. Afternoon, Rich. Thank you for joining us. Hiya, Craig. Miss Kelly. Thanks for joining us, pal. Danny, it seems to have gone quiet on Glenn Kamara front. Thank goodness. Yeah, but we'll talk about that if I remember, actually. In fact, because I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, Glenn Kamara has not been talked about, as far as I'm aware, not in circles I'm in, for a good month, probably 6 weeks. Rumoured to be going to Leeds, and they're sort of linked with a few of those that we've passed on. So good luck to him, because I don't think he's Premier League standard, to be honest. Hi, Kristen. You okay, mate? Afternoon, Mark. And I think that's all of us for now. I know there's a few of us here, but I think in the chat, that's me up to date. So, hang on. Hiya, Sarah. You okay? Another one of our members, our Ramblers. Thank you for joining us. Doyle or McAtee, if we could have one, who would you pick? Would be McAtee for me. Well, it'd be Doyle for me, but we'll come to that. If we go, hello, David, you okay? Right, so what's happened since we last got together? I know I've put a couple of videos out. Hope's done a brilliant job with doing some shorts for the channel. There'll be loads more of those to come. We've got a few series in mind. I'm really excited for that. She's done a Who Is He videos, basically. That's a mini-series that we're doing, and that's on Slimani, Larouci, and Traore, just to get to know them a little bit better. Slimani, I thought, did really well in his debut. I thought he looked lively and had a couple of moments. He ran it out of play on one occasion, which sort of makes you don't expect a perfect performance from anybody, but I thought he looked good, and it gave me a lot of positive hope for him going forward. Larouci, I wasn't as impressed by, if I'm honest, and that's what I'm here to be. And look, it's only 45 minutes of his first game, but sometimes you just get a bit of a feel. And I thought he struggled a little bit, but plenty of time to bed him in. I'm not panicking or writing him off yet. I'm just giving you my honest assessment of how I thought he played. And also, Benny Traore's signed. And you know how excited I am for Benny Traore. The one thing I will say with all these players, Larouci included, we can't expect him to definitely hit the ground running. We're not signing proven players. We're signing them from mixed levels, particularly Traore, who's come from Swedish league. So the step up is going to be huge. We've no idea how he's going to adapt. We can't expect him to be Iliman Mark II straight away. His signing was completely not connected at all to Iliman. So, yeah, absolutely delighted with Traore coming in. Larouci, for those of you that missed it, has signed on a loan deal with option to buy. So it's rumoured to be around €3 million to make it a permanent deal. Should it be a success? Should we stay up? Even if we're relegated, we could potentially do that deal, but we shall see how he gets on. Traore is rumoured to be around the €5 million mark, and I think it's the safe bets, aren't they? Particularly at loan, it's not going to cost us an absolute fortune if it don't work out. But he's 22. Traore's 20-year-old, 4-year contract. Probably got that little Blades caveat of a +1, which we always like to do. Which I think is sensible business for us. So the one thing I wanted to ask you though, and it's the first time I've become a little bit concerned to a degree. I always try and be positive. Listen, if I'm amazed how positive I've been over the last 18 months or so, particularly on this channel, because what I've always said I will be with you is honest. So this is me just being completely open with you in terms of what my concerns are as well. Are you worried a little bit about squad depth? Look, we can't sign proven players, we know that. But I think our first 11, particularly with 2 loans that will come in, 2 domestic loans who will be Premier League ready, hopefully, or certainly have the quality to up the game to those levels. I think we'll have a good starting 11 that will give us a fighting chance of staying up. And I'm confident that we'll give that a good go. I'm not sort of backtracking on that at all. But I looked at the teams that we played against the Portuguese side, Estoria, or whatever it was. And obviously then I watched the game. But the 2 teams, and I've got them here, the difference in quality, I thought the first friendly we played against Chelsea, I thought it were a nice blend, a nice mix of, not separating an A team and a B team, if you like, for want of a better way of putting it. But I thought the first half team against the Portuguese side, other than obviously Iliman, was quite obviously our second team. Now, Jack Robinson were in there, who I think will start as our left centre-back. But if I just read you the team, Adam Davis, sub-keeper, Sai Sachdev, who will be a fantastic player for us, but he's third-choice right wing-back. Bash, captain, who's back-up right centre-back. Chris Francis, who's now gone to Palace, who was on trial with us. I don't blame him for that, by the way. We were considering him as a development player. We were having a look at him. We had long enough to offer him something and get him tied down. But they've offered him a spot within their first team. And whether he actually lives up to that hype, I'm not entirely sure. But he did look decent, I thought. So fair play to that lad. If he's got a 2-year contract on table, an established Premier League team, no one can begrudge him that move for me. Yasser Larouci, who, as I say, I thought looked okay. Didn't do loads wrong. I'm just giving you an honest opinion. Ozzy, Harrison Neal, and John Fleck as a middle 3. Now, Harrison Neal I like a lot. A lot of these youngsters, we've got some shorts coming up with hope that'll sort of, for those that are overly familiar, we've got one lined up for Harrison Neal, Ollie Arblaster, Louis Marsh, Sai Sachdev. So you'll get to know him a little bit. And there's high hopes for Harrison Neal, who was Barrow's Young Player of the Season last year in League 2. And I'm hoping he gets a loan to a higher level championship ideally, but probably a solid League 1 move. But that's not a great midfield 3, is it, for a Premier League squad? And then Jebo, who we know is raw, but very highly thought of. And main man, Iliman, who, so for me, it looked like we were all out relying on the 2 strikers for that game. Second team, second half, Wes, Baldock, Freckleton, who's obviously youth left centre half, but Egan, Anel, Max Lowe, Ollie Norwood, Sander Berger, Slimani, and then Brooks and Asula. So the 2 reserve strikers, if you not that Brooks is even a striker. But I thought that highlights to me the concern about the strength in depth. And I thought what would happen would be we might struggle a little bit first half with that team, and then we'd go and blow them away in second half. Well, it didn't happen, did it? Let's be right. And it was just a bit of a run out. And I don't lay too much precedence on pre-season friendlies a lot. I know it's about getting minutes in the legs, but just the names on the team sheet highlighted to me how, and this might just be something we have to stomach, but how we haven't got the depth that we'd be comfortable with. When we had the season under Wilder where we came 9th, we were so fortunate with no injuries to key players. So, yeah, that was just something I wanted to ask your opinion on, really. Whether you're concerned, whether you think I'm sort of being a bit harsh on people that are still here. So yeah, let me know what you think. A massive thank you to our members as well. Our Ramblers, it's $2.99 a month, and they support the channel more than I can describe to you. We're now up to 48 Ramblers, and I said a while back that if we get to a magic number, then we'll be considering doing exclusives and members only things. So we're 2 away now. If we get another 2 from 50, then I will be. I'm not going to commit to definitely doing a weekly members, but it'll be at least fortnightly. And there's the things planned as well for those members that and ramblers that have supported us along the way. So thank you to everybody that do. You get recorded videos early. I refer to them for pointers or advice, or this is what I'm thinking of doing, or do you have any questions for this guy that's coming on or this girl that's going to be coming on? What do you think to this? This is how we're looking to progress. Would you guys be interested in it? So they really help me out, not just in terms of their contributions to the channel, but also helping me work through what might work for us Blades and what might not, what sort of content you're interested in. So if you do want to become a Rambler, then the link's in the description. That's completely up to you. But if we hit that golden number of 50, then we'll start doing exclusive content. So thank you to everybody that does. I've talked about Chris Francis. I don't blame him at all. Ollie Arblaster has moved out to Port Vale on loan. League One, solid, mid-table club in League One. I think he's every chance of breaking into that first team. He's a boyhood Blade, as we know. Really strong centre midfielder in terms of the potential that he's got. Go and smash it, Blaster. I hope he has a really successful season and puts himself in the mix. Only 19, so loads of time. Tough for some of our young lads to break in now that we're in the Premier League, but this is what you have to do. You go out, you make a name for yourself, you make yourself that asset that makes Hecky think twice about, oh, well, we might have to consider him in first team now. I've seen a rumour about R&D to Saudi Arabia today. Ridiculous. He's not going anywhere. Not if we have anything to do with it anyway. So, okay, I'm going to pause there because I have a few other bits, well, plenty to go through, to be honest. But I can see there's loads of comments flying in. So let's go. We started at hello at J. It's peeing down where you are. Is it peeing down? Yes, it has been peeing it down. I don't know if it still is. Yeah, it is. It's still chucking it down in Wakey, doesn't it? So, are you Wayne? You okay, mate? Nice one, Craig. Please give us some good news. I'll give you some news, mate. I'll give you some news, don't worry. Good afternoon, Scotty. Keep it up, Jimmy, up the Blades. Yeah, forget the owls. Nice one, Ian. Thank you, mate. One Rovers Blogs, Charlie joining us. Hey up, pal. Does a great job for the Bristol Rovers channel. How do, Neil? Okay, mate. Loving the videos. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Need a few more in? Yeah, I absolutely think we do, Ricky. Sorry, Craig. Shouldn't have flashed that up on screen. Afternoon, Susan. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Definitely need a few more in, Ricky, as we've said. Slimani looks good. You've made it again. Nice one, pal. Nice to see you. Rumours about Holgate deal being looked at again. I think we could do better than him. Can't get in Everton's side, so better loan market on continent. Again, I'll be surprised if this Holgate deal comes off. We need those 2 domestic loans for Premier League ready players, and I'm not saying Holgate isn't that, but it's not where we need. We've got established what I think will be Premier League players in George and Anel in the players that he'd come in and influence, and you don't want one of your loans sat on bench or even keeping one of our Premier League ready players out of the team. I think it's got to be centre midfield for me. Even 2 of them. We ain't signed anyone who would go straight into the 11. I think Slimani does at the minute, from what I saw, and it's very brief. And that Rob's a 50-50 call. I could be persuaded that won't happen, but I think just with lack of numbers at the moment, he goes into, or he's considered for the starting 11. We're missing a few Prem quality players. Scott agreed. Kipper agrees with squad depth. Yep, need more starters, Wayne. Spot on. Just hope we don't get the injuries piling up like last. It'd be a nightmare. That's the worst thing for us at the moment that could happen is injuries because of this lack of squad depth. That's what it means to be a Blade. That's right. If it stayed as it is now, I'd be worried about squad depth, but hopefully there's more to cut. Yes, there will be, Sarah. No doubt about it, there will be. Love making alive. Afternoon, Gazette. Have you missed anything? Not yet, pal. We're just going over a few bits. We haven't got to meaty stuff yet, which I think you're all here for. Only targeting 6 players and 3 already signed. Hope injuries don't pile up again. I think 6 is the target. If Illy goes, then we'll get somebody in to replace him. So that'd be 7. And then you're almost at squad capacity. So I think the squad needs more quality in it. But if you turn over too many players, and we've signed up Ozzy now, we've signed up Fleck. There are players, Jack Robinson. I know that some feel he deserves a chance, but if we brought another left-sided Anel in, then it's a huge upgrade, isn't it? But I think we've got to do it incrementally. Otherwise, you end up with, Fulham, where you change your whole team as you go up and things, and Forest. Don't want any of that, really. Brewster has to step up big time this season. Yeah, I thought he looked good in them training videos. He looked sharp in his finishing. It could be like a new signing, but I can understand why people are losing faith a little bit just because of how brittle he is, I suppose, for want of a better term. The worry of injuries is a concern, 100%. Yeah, it's his last season, pre-season games were shocking. We did okay, though. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true, Sarah. Got to say, we have a very unique system, so any new players will take time to adapt, especially when they're different nationalities. Yeah, that's true. We've a very unique system. All depends on injuries, says Ricky, and a great move for our blaster. Absolutely right. Squad depth worries me as well. Gives my younger players a chance to step up. It's a big jump, though. Thought Osula looked good, but needs to improve his finishing. Will Osula has got everything apart from composure in front of goal, because he burned away from some of them defenders, and I take on board the standard that we were playing against. But you can tell the quality's there, and you can see why we persist with both him and Jebo, because there's so much potential in there with both of them. It could be so exciting, but could also, somebody said it last time we were on, could be another Jordan Slew, couldn't it? Depending on which way his career goes and things. It needs to be the right steps to get him there. Hello from across the pond, Mr. V, back again. Welcome. To me, I think we ideally need a keeper, cover for Egan, starting left centre-back, starting defensive midfielder, Doyle, and an attacking midfielder would like... Don't want much, do you, Bean? But I won't disagree, to be honest. Do you reckon we'll get the young'un from Chelsea, Alfie Gilchrist? So I've got Alfie Gilchrist on my list to talk about. For those of you that have been here a while, you may or may not remember, we talked about Alfie Gilchrist when it was first rumoured. This were like 2-3 months ago on the Ramble. We talked about him. I'm sure somebody will be able to go and find it in one of the previous videos. I think he'd be a superb signing for us, to be honest, but I don't think it's very likely it happens. I think the only chance we get close to him is if we offer him first team football or to be in and around the first team squad. A little bit like what we're going to have to do with Jebison to get him to sign a new deal. Where does he fit? Where does he fit? I ain't seen enough of him to say whether he's Premier League ready or whatever, but you don't become under 21's captain for Chelsea if you're a mug. What I would say is he's likely going to be, or certainly will, as the season progresses and as time progresses, he'll be a Basham replacement. And whether he can get in for an L or whether he gets in and an L moves across to the left, I'm not entirely sure. But players like that, what the situation is with Alfie, though, we liked him and we offered him a contract, but then Potter's come in and taken him on the pre-season tour. Even though he's out of contract now, looks like he's going to be offered a new deal with Chelsea and then sent out on loan somewhere. So I doubt he'd be our loan, because again, similar to Holgate, he's technically in a position that we've got strong cover in. But the only slight window of us getting Alfie Gilchrist is if he doesn't like the plan that Chelsea have in place for him, and if we offer him for being in the first team mix. So we'll see. We'll see. Any news with takeover? No, nothing. It's quite quiet on that front, to be honest. I can only assume things are happening in the background, but 5 to 6 weeks, we were told, 2 to 3 weeks ago now. So maybe we hear something in next 3 or 4 weeks, something like that. Any news on Iliman? We will get there, doggy boy. In Eki, we trust. Absolutely, we do. Absolutely, we do. Expect 3, but need 5. I'd be, yeah, I think that's about right, to be honest, Stu. And Diane Traore can play together if he stays. Absolutely, I do. And who would want to play against them too? And don't get me wrong, as I say, we're sort of guessing with Traore that he lives up to the hype a little bit, and we've got to be careful with how we build him up. But can you imagine 2 players at that ilk in terms of the tricks they can do? And there's frightened defenders after death, I think. Keeper depth. Yeah, I'm on that train, to be honest, as well. Can't replace Iliman. No, we can't. Very good player. Number 19. Don't know Estoril. Number 19. I can't remember him, keeper, to be honest, mate. Chowdhury from Leicester, if we can bring him in. Not afraid of a good yellow. Bit of an enforcer and can hit a ball. I love Hamza Chowdhury. He's on way too much money for us. He might have had a wage reduction with Leicester. He were on 62 grand last year on loan at Watford. And I think he'll play a part in their team this time. Can't afford a strong first team, let alone any strength in depth in the squad. That's the spirit, Mark. I'm not saying you're wrong, though, pal. Would have loved Chong. Yeah, I think Luton are making some moves. Ryan Giles is next on the list, apparently. We'll go better than Luton. I'm sure we will. But they are starting to make some moves. Need John Fleck, not Jimmy Fleck. I think John Fleck's... listen, he could still surprise us. Let's hope he does. Will go to the top, and that's a fact. I hope you're right, Magic, and I hope that's with us. Final decision making terrible. You see 2 contrasting opinions there. I think he's got everything apart from that composure in front of goal. Need to offer Jock a job in the conditioning department. Yeah, so let's talk about this one then. Jock, I don't know where he's on my list, to be honest. I can't even read my own writing, but Jack O'Connell is retired from football. He were released at the end of his contract, where, to be fair, we paid him 25 grand a week for 2 years when he didn't play, but he got injured on our watch, so that's more than our duty to look after him. I think there's some concerns that he might have been asked to push himself a little bit hard when he was on the way back and things of that nature, which I've seen reports circulating about that. I don't know whether that's true or not. It is just a huge shame for Jock. 29 now, but 26 when he got injured. So, he's got a whole career ahead of him. He was no doubt in the England mix when he went down injured, and the whole club felt the absolute ramifications of that. We lost all our balance. Everything's because we didn't know how to adapt. We had such a unique system. We had to go down right for everything. We became much more predictable as a team. And I think that largely, that and COVID, I think were the 2 main contributing factors to our demise, if you like, and our unraveling. So, and it's taken us years to recover, and we still haven't filled it, if we're honest. And listen, I know Jack Robinson had a strong end to the season, but he's no Jack O'Connell in my book. Some will say he's playing very well. Jack O'Connell will always go down. And I said on Twitter, and it sounds quite a dramatic statement, really, but can anyone convince me that he's not in the... I'm not saying he's the very best, but can anyone convince me that he's not in the conversation as one of our best defenders of all time? Certainly left-sided, but even centre-back altogether. And listen, there'll be people that go way further back than I do who will know of better... And people can say we have Paul McGrath in team, and we've had, Steve Bruce in team technically and things like that. But I'm talking about in a United shirt. Have we had anybody that's made more of an impact? Had more of a presence around the club and sort of... I just think, I think what a player. Just an absolute crying shame. And he's moving on now. He's got his own business, and I hope he does really well. A few of us sort of wanted him to come in as that defensive coach that Mark Hudson's now come in and filled. A conditioning coach makes perfect sense. We've got Nath Winder doing a lot of that work, and I think, you see the stamina that players like Georgie Baldock and players that get up and down. I don't think the coaching is an issue in that department, if I'm honest. I think we do a great job with getting our players fit and what have you. But, there's got to be a place for Jock, hasn't there, somewhere along the line, because that is a unique position, that left centre-back. And if we want anybody to ever replicate it, if Reece Norrington Davis is going to be our left centre-back in the Premier League long-term, there's no better to teach him than Jack O'Connell. And I know that sort of those conversations have already happened between Jack and Reece, and that's great. But let's get Jock involved somehow, because it's an absolute crying shame. So on to a bit more news then. I'm going to keep Robert's comment on so I don't lose my spot. That's all. We are currently, this has come from Darren Smith. I wasn't aware of this, but we are currently negotiating. I know some people are concerned about the contract situation of some at the club. What I will say is the players that you're probably most concerned about, other than Jebo, have got options. So I know Egan's out of contract at the end of the season, George Baldock, Reece Norrington David. In fact, loads of our players. And there's a full list on bladesramble.com for a cheap little plug there. But we are negotiating with 2 of our players at the moment. We were negotiating with Wes and Jebo just to get those sorted out straight away. The rest will come, and they'll probably come when the window's closed, just so that, because everything's quite manic at the minute, as you can imagine. So those that are out of contract, we will, and we want to keep, we will be negotiating with. But as you'd imagine, it will be with those. We'll prioritise those that haven't got options in the contract. So we shall see. Watch this space. Things are moving. The club is busy all the time in these sort of things. So please don't be too concerned, and I'll keep you updated as I hear more. But thank you to Darren for that little bit of info. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I know I haven't mentioned that, but I have got it here to sort of what we're going for now. We've hit our 2K. We're on 2071, I think, something around that. And it is unbelievable, the support I've had. As I say, the subscribers just give the platform more of an awareness on like the grander scheme of things, if you like. So to subscribe means an awful lot to me. Don't cost you anything, don't mean anything to you guys. But if you like what we do, then please consider subscribing, because the new target, as I've been sort of badgered to come up with, is going to be 5K before Christmas Day. Now, like with the 2K, I think this is hugely ambitious. But the unbelievable support I've had so far, who's to say it can't happen again? So please subscribe if you like what we do. Really appreciate that. And where am I now on my list? So, and spread the word, by the way, as well. Tell your friends all about the Ramble. The away and third kits, they are done. They've been done since, same time as the home kit. The sponsor isn't done. And I know people are getting a little bit twitchy about this, and that's absolutely fine, because some people are massively into the kits. I like the home kit, and that is always the main one for me. I'm not a big kit buyer, so I can only apologise for not being as enthusiastic about this topic, or maybe not pushing it as much as some would like. But we're just waiting on the sponsorship deal being confirmed, really. We have had offers, and as I've said previously, we've turned down some offers on like moral grounds and things like that, not just gambling, which is, outlawed in Saudi and things like that, but other moral companies have been interested and met our asking price, but we've said no, we don't want to push that, because it's not what we're about. And I think the club has to be commended for that. But there is media due by the end of the month, like for your Sky Sports, where they walk towards camera and they've got shirts on, and we're doing Sky Bet stuff and all this sort of thing. So we have a deadline to get that sponsor sorted out, but I think a few other clubs are in the same boat. So watch this space. It might be happening next week, but there's nothing currently ready to go on that. A big one that people are talking about, and somebody's already mentioned it in the comments, Tommy Doyle. What's happening? Jimmy, what's happening with Tommy Doyle? Darren, what's happening with Tommy Doyle? Is it right? Is it not right? So there's not much change on the Tommy Doyle situation. Just to sort of bring everybody up to speed, we can't afford Tommy Doyle on a permanent deal. And that's not because we can't afford the transfer fee. We can. It's his wages. Now, we could afford his wages on if we absolute pushed ourselves, but he's on huge money that would surprise you. But he then won't want to accept, and I understand this, because if he stays at City, he's not going to get relegated, is he? But he won't want to accept the wage reduction. So we can't come to an agreement on the wages because we're so insistent on having that relegation reduction. So a permanent is off the table for now. He wants to come to United. We want him. City are happy to sell him at a price that suits us. Excuse me, but I can understand both camps. Tommy don't want to just chuck money away. He's not asking for more money. He's asking for parity or as close as we can get to his City contract. And we're saying we can do that, but if we get relegated, we have to protect the club. and you need to take this hit. Well, why would he do that? 40% off his wages or whatever it might be. So it's a really tricky spot, and it's such a shame at the minute. And I'm hoping we can get there, but I don't think a permanent is going to work out. City don't like loan to buy options. They want the money up front. So we can't loan him and then say with an obligation to buy him if we stay up, because they won't do that. The difficulty they bring to the table is we want to sell him now and we want a buyback, because they do that in the vast majority of their deals. So we'll sell him to you for X, and then we'll buy him back for double that if he does well. We would agree to that, but we prefer a loan to buy option. It's really the negotiations between us and the player. The further complication with that, we could just do a straight loan, which we may well do. But Wolves are now interested in Tommy Doyle and taking him on a permanent. He wants guarantees from them that he's going to be a first teamer if he goes there, which I'm not sure they're happy to do. It would be for us, obviously. But he wants to come back to United, and he's on record as saying that. He wants to come here and play for us. If it's a loan deal that we go for, which is looking the most likely at the moment, he's in the mix with other loan targets from City. That's why it's layered. Because obviously Jimmy Mack's there, James McAtee, we also want back. And in some reports, we prefer McAtee, which personally I don't get. I know McAtee's got a higher ceiling, and City see him as potentially a future first teamer there. And Doyle probably isn't. But for us, Tommy Doyle, I think, is the more appropriate signing. Also, even if neither of those players come, we have interest in other City youngsters. I've seen reports floating around that we're looking at Cole Palmer. Now, Brighton are in for Cole Palmer, and if they ramp up their interest, you'd expect them to be ahead of us in the queue. But we can offer things that other clubs can't, in terms of, like, does he play every game for Brighton? Probably not. Would he play every game for us? Absolutely. I think he probably would. So if we don't get Tommy Doyle, I'd love Tommy Doyle back, and he would be my number one pick if I had anybody from City, because I think if we stay up, we've every chance of getting him permanently then. But if we don't get Tommy, please do not worry, because there are other options on the table. We will fill these 2 domestic loan slots. Don't forget as well, there's other players like Chuck Womenka or whatever he's called from Chelsea, who I don't know enough about to know whether he'd be an upgrade on Doyle or not. But there's players like Ahmed Diallo, who are on loan at Sunderland, who we are interested in. So these sort of names in the mix, there'll always be another quality name that we're going to be linked with if A, B, or C doesn't work out. So watch this space on Tommy. That's the latest. I'm sorry it's not more positive, but hopefully you're all aware of the true situation, if you like. There were a comment early on from Kane that said just stop Ollie Mack. That is in relation to our latest bit of Ramble merch. I've basically ripped off the Just Stop Oil t-shirts, which are obviously hugely provocative. And instead of Just Stop Oil, it says Just Stop Ollie Mack with a little Ramble logo on. And I've already sold a few in the shop, which was expected. And thank you to those that have supported us by doing that. I found it hilarious. Some may do, some may not. But mine's on the way, so you'll hopefully see me about. What I'm not going to do probably is sit here and do a stream on it, because you'll only see the Just Stop. And some people might think, oh my God, click off that if he's one of them. And it's not, it's a parody of it. But anyway, that's by the by. So thank you to those. And if you want that, bladesramble.com, and go to the merch section just to have a look. But the one thing I will say is I get the prices down as much as I can for these sort of things, and I'll continue to try and do that. But they absolutely rinse you for deliveries. So I would either chat to a mate and maybe split the cost by ordering one each or whatever you want to do. And obviously I'm just sort of bumping numbers up, but I'm trying to give you practical solutions, or wait until there's a few items that you like and bulk order it, because I think it's something like $6.99 delivery or something, or, you know, it's scandalous really. So, and I can't do anything about those prices. So anyway, that's just a quick plug. The last plug I'm going to do is for the Ramble Reset. and that is the My Personal Trainer app, and there's a link in the description for that. It's going to be a fitness journey that we go on together. I'm going on holiday at end of August, and I'll still have content coming. But for anybody that wants to join me on that, I'll be starting Monday the 4th of September, I think it is. So that's when we're going to start. So if anybody wants to gear up and get ready for it, click the link below, download the app, and we'll do it together. And obviously, if you want to message me and let me know you've done it, then we'll get in touch and try and spur each other on and stuff, because I will need some support. Right. This is what you're all here for, isn't it? I'm going to move on to Iliman in a minute, but let's just catch up on some comments first so I don't get too far behind. So, good luck, Jock, and all the best, says Chris. Absolutely. What a legend. Anything about the left centre-back we were in for? I don't know about the new left centre-back that we're in for. I will try and find out, because I only heard that today, to be honest. Doyle's not travelled with City. I know they couldn't get him into 25-man squad, but he has just come back from under-21s tournament, and he's not going to play a big part for City, is he, going forward? I don't think. Couple more additions, says Doc. Done business better than South Barnsley. Oh, God, they're in a right state. Long may it continue. Bryson, fantastic channel, Jimmy. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. We do try. 2 centre-backs, a defensive midfielder, a left-footed midfielder. I don't know about 2 centre-backs. Probably mean cover for Egan, don't you? But I think Anel can do that. Everyone says we need better backup keeper. I think Amissa is so underrated that I reckon in 2 years' time he'll be first choice for us and get. Well, that's the plan, isn't it, for him to be first choice eventually? Or what's the point in us bringing youth prospects through? I don't think he's quite ready, to be honest. I think, I think he's built to be a great keeper. I just don't think he's got all the tools, but I don't think he's quite ready to put it all together yet. He had quite a tough debut at Burton last season, and I'm not looking for a backup keeper. I'm looking for a new keeper, and Wes potentially being back up to that keeper. Because if they're not going to push for a number 1 spot, which I don't think Davis is, what's the point in him being there? That purely backup. I'm not about that, really. Brendan Casey, Slimani starts. Asula has caught up with Jebo regarding chance and place in the first team squad. Room for both or just one? I think it'll be just one. I don't know Asula's contract situation, because I thought that he was in the same boat as Jebo, but there's not been any talk of it at all. So I wonder if Asula's got the option, like the Blades' favoured option, where we can add another year on, because it's due to expire at the end of this coming season. If that's the case, I think Asula goes out on loan and Jebo negotiates to stay in and around the first team. Jock's definitely in the conversation of best defenders of all time. Thank you, Hyder. Completely agree, pal. One of the best, says Rich. When you look at the players like Page and Morgan, he's definitely as good as them. I agree. Would have played for England if he didn't get injured. He would, in our opinion, yeah. I agree. Really like Amissa, and we'll feel more comfortable with him in the net than Davis. So that will beg the question, why is Davis here then? If Amissa's number 2 for a lot of people, and that's absolutely fine. It's opinion. It's all about opinions. So R&D linked with a move to Saudi. Don't worry about it, Scott. He's not going to Saudi. On the subject of the best Blades defenders, Badger, Calhoun, Hemsley, Flynn. We'll take your word for it. Obviously, we've heard of those players, but wasn't around to see it, Mike, I'm afraid, mate. Jack was the best, but Kilgallen was decent too. Yes, he was. He was. Didn't spend that long here, though, did he? But a very good defender for us. Yeah, I liked him a lot. And he's big mates with McBurney as well. John McPhail was a no-nonsense centre-half, and his partner, Tony Kenworthy, was a more skillful player. Right, fair dues. I'll take your word for that, Neil. Prefer a shirt without a sponsor. So do I, guys. If they sold it without the sponsor, I think it'd do really well. And they could do that at the minute, because obviously we've nobody in to sort of run it by, but then you've probably sold half of your allocation, and it affects your deal that's incoming, doesn't it, I suppose. Max Lowe is rubbish and it needs replacing. That is the opinion of Sam Briggs, and I won't disclose if it's also the opinion of Jimmy. But I think you probably know. Rubbish is harsh. Rubbish is very harsh, but I don't think he's Premier League standard. Who's going to be captain, Jimmy? Well, I think it will be Egan, and I probably think that I'm happy with that, because I love John Egan as a player. I would love George Baldock to be given captaincy. I don't think he will. We saw Ollie McBurney wearing armband at one stage, didn't we, pre-season? Was that Chesney? Yeah, it must have been, because he didn't play, did he? He's got that foot injury now. But I would love George Baldock to be in conversation, because I just think he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's everything that we want in a player in terms of his passion, blood and thunder. And Egan's a little bit more of a classy player, isn't he, in terms of, doesn't let his heart rule his head. Very calm, very composed, leads by example. So a good captain. But I think Baldock's more in your Billy Sharp mould of, come on, boys, come on. When we just need that extra 5-10%. So I think in terms of gonna be, I think it'll be Egan. Who it should be, I think, is Baldock. We're in a strong position. We can offer first-team Premier League football. A lot of very good young players. Have faith and still plenty of time to make signings. Yeah, that's absolutely fair, David. Absolutely fair. And I hope I am just being a little bit too wobbly, if you like. Sign up to my PT below. Sorry, I'm just here to make myself laugh half at time. Can't even read your own right. I can't, mate. I can't, I'm afraid. He said Doyle wouldn't want to come. Did I? But he would be guaranteed first-team football. So even if he did get a wage reduction, still in the shop window. Rich, I don't know if you've misconstrued what I was saying. He does want to come. He wants to come to United, but he doesn't want to take the risk of losing 40% of his wage. And I completely agree. And I'm playing devil's advocate to a degree. But Brewster went down, didn't get a move back to the Prem. McBurney, Berger, none of these got the moves that they thought they were going to get. McBurney, not so much, but Berger and Brewster, who you'd point to as two big signings with big wages, went down, would have expected a move, didn't get it. It's not guaranteed they're going to get a move just because they get relegated and they're signed for a decent fee and they're known to be a decent player. And I wouldn't want us to sell him anyway. I really think we need Doyle. Need to find a solution. I agree, Wayne. I agree. I think it'd be my top target, to be honest. Only possible Jock replacements. Fulham hijacked Robinson from Wigan. Villa got Target. Matty Cash. Is that what you mean? And despite chasing him for 65 years, we never got Dan Burn. We did chase him for ages. Ages and ages. We need to buy Doyle and have some self-belief that we're going to stay up. We are the Blades, lads. We are. I think we have got belief. I have got belief we can stay up. No, that's not concerning me. Diallo is injured and could be out a few weeks/months. He's wearing a boot after the game. Yeah, he's just been injured, unfortunately. Annie Scott, I saw that. If we don't get Tommy, I won't worry. I'll cry. Don't cry, Sarah. Come on. See Doyle as a younger Norwood, where he can backtrack and no, can't now as much. I agree. I think he plays slightly differently. But in terms of that quarterback role that we always talk about Norwood being in, it's an adapted version of it, isn't it, really? But obviously Tommy sort of kept Norwood out of the team second half of last season and on merit. And I think he will be the future. We could build our team around Tommy Doyle. We can't afford to have Fleck and no good. I don't know if that's no good or Norwood on the pitch in the Prem. I think Norwood will be in and around in terms of likely come off the bench. Can't see him being a starter. I think Fleck will be an unused sub a lot of the time, if I'm honest, and playing cup games. Diallo injured. Yeah, you're right, Brendan. Any news on Kyle Walker coming back? Yeah, he's not, Gaza. He's not, mate. It were always a very optimistic one for us, weren't it? But he's still at City as we speak, and I think they're quite happy to keep him. But Bayern are looking to offer him a 2+1 deal, like a 2-year deal with an option to extend. So he's not going to come to us till he's 45 by the looks of it. But yeah, we were never going to compete with that sort of competition. There you go, Michael. Michael sort of puts that in perspective. Marseille have signed Sarr from Watford. Yes, they have. Marseille are throwing money around, absolutely throwing money around. And I'm told this doesn't affect their desire to get Iliman, but Sarr and Iliman, they've paid 20 to 25, or it'll rise to 20 to 25 million from Watford. He went in last year of his deal at Watford as well. You can't tell me that. Listen, I know Sarr is a proven international. He played in Premier League for Watford and did well, but you can't tell me that there's more upside to Sarr than there is to Iliman. So we'll get on to Illy in a minute. Promise. Kept you long enough. Need another middle in the park and an out-and-out striker. Yes, I think we could do with a striker. But, I mean, now we signed Traore, and if Illy stays, I can't see it. give McBurney some competition. Got to be another McBurney out there. I think some would have a joke or two to say about that. What do you think about other Prem teams playing each other in pre-season, getting up to speed, and we're messing about with busy top league teams? I don't think it makes a difference, to be honest. I think it's all about getting minutes in legs in. It's not competitive. I think we'll play these upcoming friendlies and might ramp up the intensity a little bit, and probably we'll see extended minutes for those that are going to be first teamers. But I don't put much merit in it. Hiya, pal. Dave, welcome to the stream. Up the blades. Captain needs to be a regular starter, so Egan for me, although George is my favourite. George is a starter every day of the week. I think he's pushed well in front of Bogle, in my eyes, and it's all about opinions here. But yeah, I think that wouldn't be the reason not to give George the captaincy, but I think Egan's the natural successor. See what a vice captain, weren't he? It's hard waiting on the signings we really want, like Doyle, but we need to be patient. Loans from Prem to Prem teams happen later in the window after the parent club has them in pre-season. Absolutely spot on. A lot of teams haven't made decisions on their 25, which Doyle would have to be considered in. He's 22 and he's over the 21 age limit in terms of doesn't get considered in the squad numbers. Morgan Gibbs-White, I think, is best example of this. He came to us last day, I think, of the window because we didn't know whether they were going to be available or not. Do I think Iliman, if he stays, and Traore will link up well together? I think there's a huge potential for it. I wouldn't expect it to like spark and hit fire straight away, but I think the potential is really mouthwatering, to be honest. Simple with Doyle, says Rob. Give him a relegation release clause. He should back himself to become a star. I think that's the only thing we can sort of say into it. Do you back yourself? Because we certainly would. Sa was only 13 million euros. Well, I'd heard it were rising to more, Scott, but I may be wrong on that. I still think Illiman's worth more than that, even with a year left. I think definitely new midfielder and centre-back needed. Not too worried. If we don't get Doyle, I can see us getting 2 quality loans. Yeah, I agree. I think we'll definitely get quality. It's just I know a lot of keen on Doyle because he's proven he can fit in well with the team and he fits well with our system. Like Rob was saying earlier, we've got quite a unique system. It took a little bit of time to get used to it, and we haven't got a lot of time this season. There's a lot less games and things. I think he knows the team. He likes the club. He likes the fans like him. I'd love it to be Tommy Doyle, but we'll see. What's happening with Joe Roden? Could do with him. I've heard with Ollie Mack, the good mates. Yeah, they are. Decent signing, but he's a right-sided centre-half, isn't he, I think, Joe Roden. So, again, won't be necessarily top of his list, and he'll come with a big wage as well at Tottenham. Is it true that most of the promotional cash went on wage departments? Yeah. Yeah. Well, not just wages, but a lot of it was accounted for, Susan, on promotion bonuses. They get their wage reduction reinstated on promotion. These negotiations for new contracts, like with Jack Robinson, he's got a wage increase. So there's a lot of money tied up with going up, if you like. We haven't got the same commitments like last time we had to. I think we spent 10 million in and around stadium on getting it up to a certain standard, but we also had existing debts that needed clearing as well. So that's the reason we haven't got a lot of money. I mean, obviously a detailed breakdown, Darren Smith on Sheffield United way, but yeah, there's reasons for us not having much money about. I think we'll bring in 2 to 3 players on last day, then we can find out who's then available. No one else has picked up. Tend to pick up a bargain then, as other sides wouldn't want to offload. Yeah, that's fair, Danny. I think a lot of clubs will be trying to do that. Well, it's a risky strategy. We need at least one of them boys from City. I think we'll get one, Hyder. I think we'll get one at City boys, but if we don't, there's other options on the table. Luton are playing pub teams as well. Got Grunter's Arms next week. Yeah. Best news we can get before the season starts, and that's the takeover has been completed. Not going to happen, I'm afraid, pal. I wish it would, but it won't be. If there's any news that comes out about the takeover, it'll be that exclusivity has been agreed, because it's going to take a lot longer than that. And I know other deals have gone through quicker, and I get fans' frustrations on it. But talking about the situation at the club leads me on to the one we've been waiting for, doesn't it? I mean, we're 49 minutes in, and we're only just getting to Iliman Ndiaye. Iliman, I found out a little bits and bats. Basically, don't believe everything you read, and I say that with a smile on my face because you'll know that anyway. Because on Friday night, it were reported he's decided he's staying at Sheffield United. Brilliant. Just got to sort of finalise the details, and that's it. Yesterday, Saturday, it were reported he's changed his mind. He's had a word with the president of Marseille. They've convinced him to go there, and he's going to Marseille. Right? Okay. Panic stations. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Just got to agree a fee with Sheffield United and deal's done. I wake up this morning. No, it's changed back again. He's nearly agreed a deal with Sheffield United, and all that needs to be resolved is the clauses in terms of, the relegation release clause or minimum fee release clause and things like that. It's reported that 35 million release clause reduced on relegation. He wants less than that, but the club think that's fair for his value. What I've got here is, we know he's torn. We know he's torn between. I want to get this right, which is why I wrote it down. So there's no formal offer in place from Marseille at the minute. So they haven't agreed. Not only have they not agreed the terms with United, which we don't want to do anyway. We will if Illy forces it, but we don't want to talk to him about selling Iliman. We are doing, but only if Iliman agrees terms with them and then comes to us and says, I want this to happen. The important thing is they haven't agreed anything with Iliman yet. They can't get close to what he can make. Not only with other clubs, but with us. We can pay him an awful lot more with the contract on the table than Marseille can get to. And I know they've got players like Aubameyang, and I know they've got players like Saga going in now, but we can pay more, or at least a nudge in front of what they can offer. And that would be our best contract ever. But if anybody's worth it, Iliman is. So we know he's torn, but we're still confident we can get him to sign. And I think it could go either way at this point. I would lean more towards him staying and signing a new deal. And I hope to God that happens. And what I want, whether it's there's two things I want to sort of comment on here. Whether it's a 3, 4, or 5 year deal that he signs, and we're sort of talking best case scenario that he signs. And I don't want to be sort of come across as negative with this. I'm being realistic, and this is just my opinion. But if he signs a 3, 4, 5 year deal with us, it doesn't mean he's staying with us for 3, 4, or 5 years. If he keeps us up, if we're relegated, people are talking about a relegation release clause. If we're relegated, Iliman Ndiaye will never play in the Championship again. I can guarantee that. So he's gone. If we get relegated, he's gone. And whether that's a 20 million release clause, a 15 million release clause, whatever the clause is, someone will pay it, or we will offload him because he'll want to go. And I understand that. So relegation, he's gone, no matter what deal he's signed. If he keeps us up, and we've got a minimum release clause of 30 million quid, someone will pay it because he will have played a key role in keeping us up. He'll be proven in the Premier League. I've no doubt about this. And someone will pay 30 million to take Iliman Ndiaye. We're also, as we've reported previously, negotiating on specialty clauses. So that is Marseille particular specific clauses. So it might be we might end up with a 30 million pound release clause for Iliman, but it might be 20 million for Marseille. So these are the sort of deals we're discussing with him. These are the finer details that a lot of people are reporting on. But at the minute, we want him to sign a deal that is 35 million release clause. That's what's been reported. I haven't had that confirmed. Alan Nixon's been in this morning, but other sources as well, because I know people don't always rate Alan Nixon, but there are other sources that say this. So that is the first thing, that just because we get him to extend, but it's security for the club, and it's us getting money back from a player that can walk out for nothing at the end of next season, or can leave now for a knockdown price before he's even kicked a ball in the Premier League next season. The other thing I wanted to point out was, let's be sensible about this and think about it. If he signs this deal, I genuinely think this is the best deal in the club's history to get this man to sign a new deal. There are clubs all over Europe, and I'm not talking about the elite clubs. They will find out about him in due course when they'll want him to prove himself at the top level first. But there are clubs scores of clubs that want to take Iliman Ndiaye. The only people he wants to talk to are Marseille. But if he wanted to talk to a Newcastle or an Everton or Tottenham or whoever, he could. And likely they'd meet what we want if he's unhappy and he'd go. I think if we get him to sign a deal, it is the best deal in the club's history. Transfer deal, renewed contract, however you want to determine it. And with that in mind, the position we're in at the minute, you have to say the board has done an exceptional job with this. I don't see how we can veer from that thought process that, like 2 weeks ago or a week ago, whenever it was, I were on here and I had completely accepted the fact that he's gone, because why would he stay at Sheffield United? Take your blades hat off. What are we offering him? We pay. He can go to his boyhood club for a little bit less money, but play in the Champions League, which unbelievable. Or he could go to a Premier League rival who can pay treble probably what we can pay him. So with those two options on the table, why would he choose us over anybody? But we're at a point now where that might happen. Don't get me wrong, I don't think he's money-oriented as a player, and it's very rare that that's the case. But the loyalty that this kid is showing by even considering signing a contract is unreal. And credit must go to the board, and that's the chair. And listen, I've been critical of our club. I've no reason to sort of put any sort of spin out there. This is just my opinion. I think you have to take your hat off to Prince Abdullah and all the way down, even Betis and players that people have really strong divisive opinions of. But what a job they will have done. And they've done already to even get him to the negotiating table. He's worth every penny. Don't get me wrong. I would offer him best deal in club's history. And I think, well, we have. And offer him, people are saying, chuck more money at him. More. Put ourselves in financial difficulty. He's the one player that I would say there's no danger of him staying, like a Ryan Brewster or anything like that, if we get relegated to the Championship. So I don't think we need a relegation release clause, a wage reduction clause, because it's not even going to come into the conversation. If we're offering, for example, and I don't know the details, 80 grand a week, we're not going to be committed to paying him 80 grand a week in Championship because he will be off. But I thought it were well worth mentioning, because whatever happens, if he signs a new deal, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But next week it'll be like, why aren't we signing Tommy Doyle? What are the board doing? Blah, blah, blah. Do not forget about the position we're in here and how difficult it is. So I think it's worth putting on record my thoughts on that. And I think, it might not happen, but at the moment, I'm very appreciative of the efforts that are going into securing Iliman, if we can do that. And the other thing I would say on that is Sander's the next on the list. And he, at the moment, if we can't get Sander to sign a new deal, excuse me, it won't be anybody at Sheffield United's fault. Sander Berger is getting away with things a little bit at the moment because the spotlight's not on him. But he's refusing to even come to the table and talk to us about a new deal. He wants to review his options at the end of the season, is the current line from his team. And that's been circulated quite widely in local media. Well, that won't go down too well if you're just going to walk out on us for no to end of season. There's a way of doing it, isn't there? There's a way of doing it. So the club will be focused. Once this Iliman's deal is sorted either way, I'm confident that the club will continue to try and get Sander around the table. And I just hope he comes and at least talks to us. So full credit to the board on this. As I say, I haven't got a dog in the fight really, but I just think we have to hold his hands up and say when something's been really positive. So I'm going to jump back to wherever I was. Let's have a look. Luton are playing pub teams. We were there, weren't we? Where's Billy going? Says Eamon. It looks like Rotherham, doesn't it? And that'd be a good move for him. In terms of locality, I would like to have seen him go to say a Barnsley in League One, where he's not going to go to Derby, is he? Because, well, it surprised me anyway, because he notoriously don't like him, and they didn't like him. But it'd be a good move for him footballing wise. I just think he'll get more chances at top end of League One than he would at bottom end at Championship. I still think he's good enough, well, I don't know. Best of luck to him wherever he goes. I think Marseille have spent around 40 million euros, not including Sarr, less than 20 mil, and got Aubameyang on a free. The wage bill must be massive. Absolutely. Well, they don't need any more than, do they? Feel like we're children looking into a top shop window. Yeah, you're right. Ooh, look what we could get, but we're not going to. I get it, Susan. Surprised Blades have not got you on the payroll. We tend to get info from you more than we do the club. Think you can do Betis's job, put $1 million behind that bar. We'll join you for a pint. Brilliant. Thank you, Danny. Appreciate that, mate. We need a left-sided centre-back. Jackie Long throws too erratic. Completely agree. That is on the radar, as we're aware. But I think Jackie might start the season, depending on who comes in. Thought he'd just bought a house and his pregnant wife said she's happy in Sheffield. He'll stay. Gaza, I've heard the same. And I think he is happy in Sheffield. I think he is. I think he's very happy. But I still think out of the 3 options he's got, go to Marseille, entertain deals from the rest of Europe, if you like, from the sort of tier down from the elite, or stay at Sheffield United, I still think we're the least likely option. So absolute credit to everybody that's got him around the table. He loves it at the lane. Yeah, he does. It's clear. He plays with a smile on his face, doesn't he? And we love him and all. And also would like to play for Marseille. All this is agents trying to get him the best deal. And the club are trying to protect that investment, in my opinion. Absolutely right. That's exactly what it is. I may need to check myself into a straitjacket, but would I have the clause? It should be 20 million if relegated and a 4-year deal. Whatever deal we can get him on. I think it probably more likely to be a 3, but as I said, I don't think he'll do longer than 12 months, if I'm just being honest. I want royalties. From what? We'll talk, Miss Kelly. I don't know what follow. We have a better chance of staying in the Prem with Iliman. Absolutely, we do. But this was always the risk, weren't it, Michael? Because we thought the only 2, or I certainly thought the only 2 options were we sell him to Marseille now and make a quick buck at a cut down price, which would be about 15 to 20 million up, hopefully, which is ridiculous for a man of his talent, or he walks out for nothing. Yes, we've got a much better chance of him staying up with him. We've got a much better chance of staying up with him in the team. But can you imagine if he couldn't do it and we got relegated anyway and then he walks out for nothing? That's a double whammy, innit? And a triple whammy if Sander goes as well. So that was always the risk. The fact there is a chance of signing a new deal is absolutely on it. But it's again that carrot, isn't it? That carrot that we all ate that is dangling in front of us. I was content with him going. And now, this club. He'll prove himself in the Prem, but what if he doesn't? Club don't want to be saddled with a crippling contract. It needs to be sensible. It does need to be sensible, Ian, but nothing can convince me that this time next year he still wouldn't be our best player if he was still with us by some distance. I think he's a different gravy, this kid, isn't he? If we're right, he's something we've never seen before. Or certainly I've never seen before. If we're honest, if I'm honest, I think he's ahead of the club. I think he's an elite player. His levels are we're trying to catch up to him as a club. And if we kept him, and the sale to him is build the club around him, and he probably would sign under those. If he does sign under those sort of agreements, his intention would be to stay. But I just think looking 12 months into the future, I don't think he'd be with us longer than that. Iliman Ndiaye will sign a contract with United, says Mr. Vick, and you have said that. You have said that from the beginning. I can vouch for you there, mate. For how long and with what clauses, who knows? But he definitely stays. Yeah, you've been confident all the way through. I certainly haven't. And fair play to those of you that thought it, because it wasn't looking likely at one stage at all. Do you reckon Illy's agents are telling him to wait till the death in the transfer market, see if a big Premier team comes in? And if so, it'll mess up our preparation. No, he don't want to. He don't want to talk to anybody else. That's the negotiations we've had with his representatives. He doesn't want to entertain any other offer from any other club other than Marseille. But Marseille can't get near him in terms of what he wants or what he deserves or what he could get with us. I asked Darren regarding Iliman, even if Ndiaye doesn't sign, we still may not sell him. Yeah, that's true. We will weigh up the options with the club's best interest at heart and can't see Marseille paying the asking price. Yeah, I don't think he'll push for a move to anybody else but Marseille. But if Marseille don't meet our asking price, then we may not sell. It's not always a done deal. I'm hoping he signs because it gives us so much more clarity, Scott. We give him a 2-year contract for 2 years, highest paid player with a sell-on clause of 25 million with add-ons. As in like a release clause of 25 million with add-ons. Okay. I thought you meant like a sell-on to him of 25 million. This is the other thing. If he walks out for free at the end of the year, he can get a sign-on fee instead of a transfer fee being paid to the club. So he could walk out in 12 months and pocket 20 million quid. So the fact that we've got him anywhere near to talk about a deal with us is unreal. The deal with Iliman needs doing even a 2-year deal as with a new owner by Christmas, New Year's, so then we can spend. I mean, that's the most optimistic way of looking at it, Neil. So I'm all for that, mate. Absolutely. Blades hat off. He's loyal to his cause, and his body language tells me he's happy. Agreed. His missus is happy and settled. It means a lot, Jimmy. The missus being happy. Absolutely, it does. Wow. Yes, that is a huge driving factor for anybody. Agree about the board. Can't do much more. They can't reach. Listen, they're there to be shot at, aren't they? It's a thankless job at times. But in terms of this deal and doing what's right for the club, you know, I mean, let's be right. McCabe would have sold him, wouldn't he, for some matchsticks and a packet of crisps. Completely agree regarding the job the board has done. And yes, Illy has the world at his feet. If he signs, it'll be the best deal we've done ever. Absolutely, Brendan. I'm in that camp, mate. Do you think we're signing 2 centre-backs because we're obviously after a left centre-back, but also been linked with right-footed centre-backs as well, which is true. We're definitely in for a left centre-back. I've heard nothing about us being linked with a further centre-half, other than like the Holgate thing, but he can play in a couple of positions. So in terms of what's true, in terms of what we're definitely looking at, it's just the one left centre-back. But we always leave the door open and a little bit of cash in reserve if the perfect player came about. So Alfie Gilchrist, for example, if that's still a goer, then we may well move for Alfie Gilchrist, even though he's a right-sided centre defender. It's always about it's not just about the plan; it's about the opportunities that come up as well. So I hope I haven't muddied the waters too much with that middle deal with my answer there. Afternoon bids. Nice to see you, pal. Fair play on the board for offering a new contract. I can see him lighting up the Premier League next season. Defenders will not want to play against it. Absolutely. I think he'll step up, no problem. Some of our players have got question marks over them, whether they can make the step up. I think Anel will. I think Sander will be a lot more comfortable at the level now. I think George will, which will shock nobody that I think that. I think Egan will hold his own, no problem. But Iliman, I am absolutely most confident on. Most confident. Ian, I agree about the board. Any owner particularly only has a certain amount of money. If the Prince was a multi-billionaire, he'd have bought the 49ers, as he said in his first interview. That's right. Billy to Rotherham, so he can score against S6 and score the winner. Absolutely. Absolutely, that'd be great. If Illy doesn't sign a contract, I'd be fine losing him on a free. I don't know about fine, but I know what you're saying. I know it's not my money to play with, but we've already lost money on Berger. Didn't we sign him for 30? Won't get 20 now. Berger, I think, came for about 22, something around that. I think we get about 12, if I'm honest, at the moment, just because of his contract situation. Those were the sort of rumoured figures when he was said to be going. He might still lose Berger, you know, before it starts the season. It's not a possibility. It's not an impossibility that he'll stay. Iliman just needs to decide what he wants and bring this Willie, won't he, that he's tormenting us all to an end, please. Please end this. Absolutely right, Anne. Absolutely right. Sabella was pretty awesome, and we went down. Probably the most skillful player I've ever seen in the Blades kit. He must have been some. And listen, I've heard a lot about Sabella, Stu, but he must have been some player if he's up there with Iliman for skill set. Totally agree with Anne, does Michael, in terms of getting it sorted. This new contract comes with a signing on fee, apparently. Of course it does. Every contract comes with a signing on fee. And if we're giving him 5-10 million quid for a 3-year deal, it's worth every penny. Illy didn't cost us millions. We don't lose money like we do by losing to Sander. if we keep him, does that make sense? It did in my head typing that. It does make sense, Roy. So on the balance sheet, we've paid very little for him. But that's, in reality, we know we've got a 30+ million pound asset. So you can't just let him walk out for free just because we only paid, say, 10 grand, 100 grand for him. It's what he's worth today rather than what we paid for him. Just like we're going to lose out on Sander. We paid 22 and we're going to get 12 if we sell him now, or he goes out for free. It's swings and roundabouts, but we can't just say just because he's not on balance sheet don't mean he's worth that amount of money. God forbid we don't want another Jack O'Connell. Was bang on for success and then got injured. Absolutely, Susan. What an absolute crying shame it was. Our club will look more appealing to future transfers, knowing they'll be playing with Illy if he signs. Absolutely, and it's a statement of intent for the club, Ida. That's another point that you're making there. What? He's turned down Champions League football, and he don't want to talk to other Premier League clubs because he wants to stay at Sheffield United. How are we doing this? I just think it's an amazing job by everybody just to get him around the table. And if he signs, unreal. I don't get it. Why can't we get a billionaire owner with liquid assets? We own the ground and we're a good option to buy. We just don't understand. Must not make much money, the Blades as a club, so I put off. I don't think it's that. I think I've talked about this before, and it's one for another time because obviously I'm going on and on now. But Sheffield as an area is not attractive. It's not a forward-thinking city, and this is not to insult anybody because it's where my family's from. But in terms of comparing it to Leeds, Manchester, forward-thinking cities with investment, and look, I'm just going off what people with a greater idea of this than myself, but there's no investment in the area. The other thing that's a huge kickback, which don't always hold up loads of water because Manchester's the same, Liverpool's the same, but it's a two-club city. So if you were to buy, Leeds is a much more appealing option because everybody in Leeds is a Leeds fan. We split the population, not necessarily down the middle, probably 2/3 red and white, but that is the truth. We've also got a lot of work to do on the infrastructure. The ground needs updating and stuff. So you're not going to buy Sheffield United to become the next mega power of football. There's a few reasons, Danny, to be fair, which I won't go into now, as I say. I personally don't think our star boy will leave. You're right, Jace. Wouldn't have updated his Twitter handle to number 10. Some are saying that we're already a 10, but I'm not sure. I couldn't say either way, to be honest. And wouldn't have gone to Portugal if he had itchy feet. Looked over the moon to be in Portugal, didn't he? And smile on his face all the time. Loved it. Don't know about you, but I'm also more optimistic about our chances with things going on at other clubs. Fulham losing Mitro, Wolves selling Neves, Palace losing Zaha. I am very pleased with what's going on at other clubs. I think for all we've talked about, Luton are making some moves and strengthening. So they were tough already, Luton, and I think people are writing off too quick. But I think they will struggle overall. I've said already, I think Wolves will struggle because I don't rate the business they're doing. They're losing a lot of star men. Fulham are now falling into that category as well, and wouldn't that be nice? The old Robinson thieves snatching him from under his noses because they're waving the cash at him. Yeah, that'd be lovely if Fulham started to struggle a little bit. What's this about Norrington Davies? It's a load of rubbish bids. He's not going anywhere. We need a new contract for him, though. Been linked with that Polish centre-back, which fell through because Hungarian, because he got injured. Oh, I'm Polish, lad. Yes, you're right. Sorry, yeah. I can't say his name, though. Linked with Holgate and then now the Chelsea centre-back as well. Be interesting to see how many players we actually sign. There's always going to be loads of rumours. I think it's quite widely known that we'll talk to, say, 50 players and only be interested in 5 of them. And what we're trying to do is establish what's the going rate and what's the market and who would be interested in coming, that sort of thing. So just because we're talking to players and the odd one might leak. But there was merit in the Holgate rumours. He's worked previously with Hecky, and I just don't see how he fits in terms of wasting, and I would call it a waste, on one of our loans on it. Good player, really like him, but don't fit for what we need. Sanders at a crossroads. He needs to start dominating games. He expects to be a big Premier League, be at a big Premier League club or move. If he doesn't, I can't see a big queue lining up. Maybe a move, but I think he does. I think he gets a mediocre move back to Europe and probably walks out for nothing at the end of next season. That's just my prediction today. I hope we can get him around the table to see what his options are, but I'm not convinced. I won't lie, I'm not happy about the news about going for McAtee over Doyle. I'm shocked at that, to be honest. Because I know because it's because of the price and Man City want to sell him, but it's tough to take. They're also open to a loan deal, and apparently the noises coming out of the club are that we prefer McAtee to Doyle. I just don't see it. I don't see it, particularly with players we've already got in. Traore plays in that 10 role that you can sort of link midfield. The McAtee, if you like, a very raw version. But I don't get it. Tommy Doyle is the one for me. I agree, Jimmy will be the best sign the club's ever made if Iliman stays. Cheers, Mark. Get the feeling he will obviously change. Oh, get the feeling he will. Obviously, things can change, but I'm quite honestly think he'll play for us in the Prem. I hope you're right, pal. I hope you're right. If we lose Iliman and Burge, our squad will look so bare. We won't lose them. We could, but I'll be very surprised if we lose them both before the season starts. Been linked with left centre back, and Ndiaye is just gone to. Where did he go? Troyes, was it? Or he's gone to someone in City Group anyway, French team in City Group. Can already see it now where Sheffield United announced Ndiaye signs the deal. It's the wrong Ndiaye, yeah, typical. But it won't be him, pal, because he's gone elsewhere. Disappointed the lad Chris Francis went to Palace. Hopefully, Hecky didn't give too much away about the Blades' playing style next season. Feels like we had a spy in the training camp. I don't think it's been on for a long time. Palace have just offered him a better deal than we did, and fair play. Yeah, Brendan just saying he's signed for Troyes, which Hope rightly pointed out. That's how you say it, rather than Troyes that I've been butchering. My only worry for Illy is that he won't get the supply and we won't see a lot of the ball. Might look absent in games and then he could get criticised. Well, criticise him then and we'll sign him to another deal and all that sort of stuff. But I know what you're saying, but I think we'll be more of a counter-attacking team this season because I think we'll be under cost quite a bit. And I think it'll work well for what we want. Iliman on break, taking players on, last couple of defenders. I think it fits his game. Leeds is an egg chasing city, Jimmy. Lightweight. Yeah, I know. Can't be doing with egg chasing. Can't be doing with it. Roll on August. Come on, United. Yes, that's it. Any chance of signing the Plymouth keeper or Rotherham keeper? I wish, Nigel. I wish. Plymouth keeper would be top of my list as the long-term successor. Rotherham keeper would be great. Would love Johansson. I think that'll only be if there's money left in pot. We're not actively looking to replace keeper, which surprises me. If we don't have more creativity in midfield, Doyle, McAtee, then Illy could get frustrated and be gone in January. Oh, come on. We don't know yet, Paul. Long way to go, mate. I know what you're saying. We need to keep him for the whole season. Let's just keep him for now, to be honest. It's each hurdle at a time. Let's not forget what's going on at Everton. If they have a bad start, it'll turn toxic at Goodison. Adding the FFP investigation, new ground and Leeds, Leicester and Southampton threatening legal action. Yeah, it could all go wrong at Everton. I think Sean Dyche is a solid appointment, though. I think he will get it right there. I'm not banking on them to be, definitely down. I would put Wolves in the mix in terms of I think they're going to really struggle. And as I say, Fulham, I think, will get pulled into it now this season. When they bought Man City, they weren't a brill team and ground, but they've bought success and ground now. So why can't we do something similar? Yeah, you're right. But where are they then? Where are they? Listen, if they're out there, call me. We can, crazy. I'd love a billionaire to come in, but it's not. They're not on every corner, are they? Marsh looks like an amazing prospect. Would you send him out on loan or give him minutes coming off the bench? I would like to see him go out on loan, Jace. I think he is an amazing prospect. And I think he scored 24 or 26 goals in 33 appearances last season for youth team, 14 assists. We'll be doing a little shorts on him as well to sort of let people know a little bit more about him. I'd like to see him get minutes in EFL, probably League One. But if he's not going to start, I've no problem with him going to League Two, and he'll bag. He will bag for someone down there. Jimmy's live. Did he sign? Not signed yet, mate. Not signed yet. PNUK. Everybody support Paul. He's been a huge help in getting bladesramble.com back up to its optimum performance levels. So thank you, pal. We're back. bladesramble.com. Surprised no one is looking at an L, to be honest. So childish, but yeah. Me too, and I'm glad that that's not happening too. More links than a chav's neck. Listen, we're trying to grow. We're trying to grow. So come on. Oh, you mean players? That's all right. I thought you meant in my description. I hope we don't end up going too far left of the LCB. And Hungarians look great options, and we aren't left with fifth or sixth choice. Yeah, we'll definitely get a left centre back in. It's just I'm wondering now though whether that becomes our Premier League loan. Do we forget about getting 2 centre midfielders in and get 1 centre midfielder in and left centre back? But we'll see. Another one we have to buy. Can't wait for the season to start. Me neither, him and me neither. I'm getting excited now. Which brews are you going to before Palace game? Gallon and Magnet on for me. On me. Nice. Thank you, pal. Thanks for the great content. Much appreciated. I'll always be. You'll very rarely find me anywhere but Triple Point, just off Mary Street. We'll love it there. It's as I said, I'm talking to them about a couple of bits, but yeah, even if we don't have any affiliation with them at all, just a great boozer. Everton in trouble. Just announced another loss of 45 mil. Yeah, big trouble. But owners got stacks of money, Scott, and that can usually get you out of a lot of holes, can't it? Jimmy, you're more biased towards Doyle over McAtee because originally you thought we'd no chance of getting McAtee, and Doyle seemed more realistic. Good point, and maybe subconsciously that might be it. But I just think Doyle's a more solid centre midfielder. McAtee's not going to do your dirty work. You tracking. He does track back, but he's not really a solid tackler. He's more of a flair player that can give you a moment of brilliance. And I do think his ceiling's higher. But Doyle is much more what we need in terms of grinding. I think we could, we can't. We've already talked about it. But if we sell Iliman, I'm aware of who we're lining up potentially to come in for him, and I'm quite surprised, and I think it would split opinion. But I would, instead of that option, I would take that money and buy Tommy Doyle. I know they're completely different players, and then I would loan in a striker. But I would buy Tommy Doyle on a 5-year deal, throw caution to the wind, and build the team around Tommy Doyle, because this sounds awful, and I don't mean it negatively to Tommy, but Tommy Doyle's ceiling is probably where our club's ceiling could get to. Iliman Ndiaye's ceiling and James McAtee's ceiling are probably higher than Sheffield United can hope to get to in the next 5 years without a huge influx of money. So we can build a team around Tommy Doyle, whereas we'd always be liable to lose a McAtee or an Iliman, which, that's just where I see it at the moment, to be honest, and I hope I'm wrong. But I think Tommy's a better option for us at the minute. Outdoor Adventures Dave, welcome to the members club. Thank you, pal. Our newest Rambler, much appreciated. I think that's us at 49 now. As soon as we hit that golden 50, there'll be exclusive content coming on a regular basis to Ramblers, just to thank them for the support. Similar to this, I probably won't ramble on for as long because there probably won't be as many questions, but we'll be doing Ramblers only content. Great pub, Triple Pint, pints of cop. I'm a gold man myself. I like a pint of gold, but I'm not against a pint of cop. So, yeah, horses for courses. Worksop 1, Blades Youth 11. What a game. Some talented babies going through it. I missed that, Susan. I didn't know that had been the case. And I'm surprised I've missed it, but wow. Absolutely wow. There are some great youngsters coming through. We have 4-5 team battle for the last 2 relegation places. Luton's favourite for the bottom. That's Brendan's opinion for the bottom spot. They were a tough team to play against. They're always underrated at Luton, and they made some good signings. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that they're rock bottom. I think they will struggle overall, but I think they'll be a lot more competitive than people think. Fulham, Wolves, Everton, us, and I think Bournemouth and Forest, despite spending yet again, are safe. I think Bournemouth will be safe. They've got money behind them now. They've changed the manager, which is a risky move because they were doing okay, but starting to spend some money. I think they'll solidify themselves. I hope Forest are dragged into it, though. That'd be lovely. Do we know what happened to Koulibaly? No signing squad and training camp. Knee injury, same as Bogle, getting looked at. Hopefully not for much longer. We need Doyle for set pieces because Norwood's pings have been more pongs recently. Sorry, that tickled me. You're absolutely right. Mr. Inconsistent, Ollie Norwood. I'm hoping Norwood finds his old form. Me too, pal. More of a luxury player. I think if you mean in McAtee, Wayne, I completely agree. And we can't afford to carry luxury players anymore, not at this level. If I had to take a guess of when our next signing will be, when do you think it'll be? Because it seems to have gone dry based on the strong rumours. So, yeah, I think we're closer on a left centre-back than we expected to be. I would probably say that might be next week at some point, but then I think we'll leave it a lot later to go for our loan targets. So, much closer to close-up window. We need some Iliman news, don't we? Either way, like we're all saying, just put us out of his misery. And I hope to God it's a new contract. Come on, somebody, 50 before the stream. Top man. Listen, if it don't happen, it don't happen, but we'll get there eventually, I'm confident. Stick some red paint on that garage behind you would look great. Somebody else has said that, actually. Yeah, red and white. It's not actually white. It looks white, but it's like a sage green that wife's painted. She's done a great job on it, if she ever sees this. Fantastic, love. Player links. Up the Blaze Ramble. I think Luton stay up. Can see us and Burnley going down. That is grumpy from Grumpy. I don't understand the hype around them. All top performers were on loan. Yeah, but they're sort of making them into permanents now, aren't they? Jace says, who's this player you've heard? We'll be in for... I can't... If I could say Jace, I would. But I genuinely think it'll divide opinion. Hopefully it don't come to it. Listen, if we know he's staying, he signs a new deal, I'll let everybody know what the situation is if it doesn't happen. Is your wife a blade and does she go to the games with you? No, Mr. V. She's not a blade. She's not a football fan at all. And she's very irritated about how big of a blade I am. So, yeah, it's more of she sees it as an inconvenience. But, opposites attract and all that. Norwood finds the door. Not all fun. That's long gone. I think they were Blades Juniors, Jimmy. Sorry. All right. No problem, Susan. No problem at all. But listen, success at any level, isn't it? Shows we're doing something right. Sorry to bring the bad news, but Newcastle just beat us to signing Harvey Barnes with a cheeky £35 million bid. What a player he is, by the way, Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes, underrated. I've heard that United are putting a clause in the contract for £35 million. Is it true? I haven't heard specific figures, but I have seen that same report, Nige. Wouldn't surprise me. I think that's probably the best we can hope for in terms of a clause going in. He's trying to negotiate that down from what I'm hearing. But as I said, I don't know exact figures, to be honest. But they're on the right lines in terms of the communication side of things. Lovely paint job by your missus. Thank you, Stu. I agree completely. Of course, we'll have a massive pool of Prem loan options. However, a lot have been linked with look unlikely. Ahmad's injured. Chukwuemeka playing for Chelsea. Doyle will get bought by someone, etc. We'll see. Have faith. We need to smash the ceiling, Jimmy, but I get your point about realistic signings. I know what you mean. It's difficult, isn't it? How much do you squeak out in terms of pushing that boat further and further? Iliman, this deal it's within the wage structure, but it's the best deal we've ever offered. And, unbelievable, really. Need to get the missus on transfer list after that last comment. Listen, she's great. David Bronx, Mr. 50. Wow. Thank you so much. That is unbelievable. So now we will be getting exclusive Ramblers only content on the channel. I don't know whether the rest of you will see that as and when it comes up as a video. Obviously, through this journey, you'll all see that I'm no expert on any of this. So I don't even know whether it shows up on the channel as like a members only video or whether it just shows up to members in the sort of video flow. But either way, thank you so much to everybody that's supporting this channel. And obviously, I want to give back to you in ways like this and other ways that I've got planned as well in the future, which you'll hear about. Second that, Danny. So that was getting the missus on the transfer list. Thanks, Rich. 50th, absolutely right. Brilliant. 50, Scott, I know. Unbelievable, isn't it? Thank you so much, everybody. Would be typical for us to go and buy Doyle. Don't say that. Well, they were sort of throwing it at Iliman, weren't they? There were rumours saying that they fancied Iliman Ndiaye. He's not going to go to Forest. But can you imagine they line up next season with Dean Henderson in goal, Morgan Gibbs-White and Iliman on the same pitch? Everybody that we want to sign, or that we would have wanted to sign it last 5 years, unbelievable. Couldn't do it. Gibbs-White went for 40 million, and I know I would sooner have Iliman. Absolutely right. Me too. Me and my dad had this argument the other day, actually. Andy the Blade, if you're on, then, you know, feel free to speak up. But it's an hour and a half, so I'm going to have to wrap it up now. But he would rather have Gibbs-White. I would rather Iliman. I can see the argument for both. Yeah, but Iliman's the man for me. Good lad, David. Thank you, David. Much appreciated. And Scotty says, news gone quiet on us being linked with O'Brien. And you're right, it has gone quiet because we've stepped away. They don't want to budge on their asking price, and we don't think that's value for money. But a good player, a very good player, and, you know, if Sander leaves, for instance, I think we could probably push the boat out and pay what they want, but they're not going to do us a deal, are they, Forest? So Michael just ends on up the blades. So thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. We're up to 50. What is that all about? What is that all about? Please do subscribe if you like what we're doing and you're not subscribed already. I know that there's loads of you out there that are doing that, and that is free. So thank you all for your time. Come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades.